It's about truth. It's about disclosure. It's about transparency. And if it means that I don't get my day in the spotlight, then that's okay, because it's not about that. It never was about that. I didn't leave the Department of Defense because I wanted my day in the spotlight. I left the Department of Defense, ironically enough, to finish the very mission they gave me in the first place. I didn't ask for it. I'm not a UFO guy. I'm not a ufologist. I never have been. I never will be. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do. And it just so happens that in 2008, I was asked to apply those same skill sets into the UFO community. But I'm not a UFO guy. And so for me, it's all about the truth. Whether I'm hunting a terrorist or a spy or a UFO, the bottom line is the truth is the truth. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do. And it just so happens that in 2008, I was asked to apply those same skill sets into the UFO community. The bottom line is the truth is the truth. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do. And it just so happens that in 2008, I was asked to apply those same skill sets into the UFO community. The bottom line is the truth is the truth. It just so happens that in 2008, I was asked to apply those same skill sets into the UFO community. The bottom line is the truth is the truth. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do.
Square. Represent the circle, which is called the brain. Triangle. Okay, represent all the brain. Brain. Okay, represent all the brain. Brain. Okay, represent all the brain. Brain. Okay, represent all the brain. Consciousness.
Consciousness is part of that process, that spirit, that thing that is all encompassing of what a human being really is, the essence, if you will.
Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. I want to make sure I mention that if my appearance looks somewhat disheveled and haggard this evening, it is well earned. On a personal note, today is the last day of my children's summer vacation, which I can't tell you how happy I am about. And all of you should be too, because this means that going forward after today, I will have, 60 hours or more a week to actually work. And I plan on hitting things pretty hard. I have a lot of projects in mind. First, I want to welcome all of our fun live chat members. I saw Strange Recon is here in the chat. Welcome, Strange Recon. And many of our usuals. Welcome, old friends, and hopefully some new friends. So yesterday was quite cathartic for me because I got to get some things off my chest, and I think continuing in that is probably a good idea. Most of you know, especially while I was still drinking, that I didn't hold many things close to my chest, but I have been lately. This situation lately with Luis Elizondo, some of you are aware of the history that our show has here, and that is that since 2017, at least, I was asking a lot of questions about this supposedly I'm going to say allegedly, allegedly former Pentagon director of a Pentagon UFO program. And things get murky very, very fast. And as soon as Mr. Luis Elizondo came onto the scene, I began making phone calls, asking questions. I sent snail mail letters, which I have maintained copies of here in our filing cabinet. I have copies of emails that I've sent since 2016. I can't tell you how many times I have reached out for comment and gotten nothing. Now, I attributed that earlier to the fact that who am I, right? I don't work for the New York Times or even like the New York Post, like I think that they pick up their phone more for somebody like Stephen Greenstreet, who works for a well-known newspaper, but some guy with a podcast, it's very difficult to get answers out of the government about this guy. And, it just appears to me that since 2016, things have begun to get murkier and murkier and murkier. But like any illusion, and let's be clear, I believe that this man created the illusion that he was the director of a $22 million Pentagon program. And in my opinion, based on available evidence of late and, the statements out of the Pentagon, we can see that illusion has been slowly unraveling. Recently, I commented on the fact that even ardent supporters of Luis Elizondo stopped calling him the former director of ATIP and started calling him former Pentagon UAP portfolio manager. So as a goof, and by the way, I still have the tape. As a goof, I called the Pentagon and asked for the Pentagon UAP portfolio manager. And after everybody picking up the phone stopped laughing, I was essentially told there's no person like that here. We don't have a title. There's no department UAP portfolio manager. It was a made-up title that people started putting under his name. And I'm confused by that. Why were you first? At first, you were the Pentagon UFO director, Pentagon UFO program director. And the New York New York Times article detailed that this was a very important program with $22 million in funding. And then the Lukatsky and George Knapp book comes out. Despite what I think about George Knapp, I have to take what Lukatsky said as face value because he can be verified to run the previous program, OSAP. And see, here's where it gets confusing. So then we find out ATIP was a nickname for a program that lost all its funding and folded. And then Lou, according to some sources, took over that program that lost its funding and no longer existed. And by the way, if you do get through to government sources in the Pentagon and you ask things like how many staff members did ATIP have? What was their funding? Who was the person in charge of the program? Again, you get a lot of confusion. And I believe this is because there truly was no real program, at least no real funded official Pentagon program. That's my opinion based on all of the available evidence. Now, due to recent legal threats, I have to say that this is my opinion based on all available evidence that there was no Pentagon, official Pentagon program called ATIP that was either funded or staffed or whatever. Friends, if there is an official Pentagon program, they have staff, they have funding, and they have a mountain of paperwork. Go try to find me that mountain of paperwork. You won't find it. You find one letter from a senator that was in on the whole giving away $22 million in taxpayer funds so that we could get reports about werewolves, dino beavers, poltergeist, aliens. And I hear tomorrow is going to be a big day because we're going to hear that we, the taxpayers, gave $22 million through Harry Reid, gave it to his buddy Bob Bigelow and some Pentagon officials to form this thing called OSAP so that we could learn that there is a disease that is transmitted by ghosts, by poltergeists. Now, I know that's ridiculous. And I, for one, think that whoever decided it was okay to spend $22 million on this should testify before Congress under oath. Where did the money go? All I've been able to tell from OSAP and ATIP is that we got a bunch of reports written about things like werewolves, dino beavers, poltergeists, portals. You know, if you listen to George Knapp, you also get some stories about, you know, dogs that were smoking. And it's so ridiculous and stupid that, you know, I used to think this had to be some kind of a psyop that the government was running. And then I go, even they're not stupid enough to make it this ridiculous and this stupid. But this is where we're at, and this is where we find ourselves. It is. That's what happened to our money. They spent it on ridiculous nonsense, apparently, like studying reports of werewolves, ghosts, and Skinwalker Ranch. And by the way, it's important to note that, you know, George Knapp, who is, I guess, considered the expert on Skinwalker Ranch, he's been reporting on it the longest. You know, he's got a lot of stories about werewolves and bulls being jammed into some little containment, you know, shed, and they couldn't have got there. And you know, there was a werewolf, and they shot it with a shotgun, and it didn't die. All this stuff from George Knapp. But on Joe Rogan asked him, "Is there evidence for this?" Well, no, not. You know, George Knapp says, "No, there's not really, you know, evidence." Yet in his book, he claims that the book that he put out with Lukatsky is based on all of this evidence. But in the book, I have it. It doesn't appear to me that they have actual physical evidence that is presented. Maybe I missed it. You know, I'm human. I don't know. But lately, let's fast forward a while, and we get these recent revelations from the Pentagon, statements which essentially say, hey, Lou Elizondo had no responsibilities with ATIP. That's what we heard. It's very, things get murky here then. So who's telling the truth? And here's what's incredibly interesting to me. Recently, The Intercept came out with an article, or excuse me, Liberation Times, right? Came out with an article confirming that Lou Elizondo did tell the truth when he said that he worked for Space Force, but apparently he works as a contractor and advises them on classified things. Great. It gets so murky, friends, and I'm going to try to get to the Discord here too. We have a lot of information to share with you tonight, and there's some very troubling things that just happened right before broadcast, and so I'm having a real hard time here trying to get myself organized and going here, but we're half there. Okay, so gee, if Sixth Sense, if you could message me, or Kari, message me the Intercept statement. It's in the Discord a little ways back. That would be helpful. Somehow I'm logged into another Discord and can't get out. Yeah, live show, friends. So we'll move on then to other things and come back to that. But in this article, it said former head of ATIP in it, but that wasn't in quotes. But somehow the Lou Elizondo believers are taking that Susan Goff retracts her statement that he didn't run ATIP and is now saying he did run ATIP and he also works for Space Force. But that is yet to be determined. I don't believe that portion of the article which calls Lou Elizondo the director of ATIP came from Susan Goff. And this, again, is the muddying of the waters. The conflation of different facts, different statements from different people. Who made the statement that Lou Elizondo was the director of ATIP? It's deceptive. In the article, it may appear to many people that Susan Goff made that statement. And then the very next line is an actual statement from Susan Goff saying that he does work for Space Force as a contractor on classified projects. And to these Lou Elizondo believers, they're all going nuts. This proves he was right about everything and he didn't lie. Well, no, it proves that he told the truth once. But my friends, if you've been caught lying multiple times and then it's proven that you told the truth once, it doesn't excuse the other times where you were not truthful. And again, I don't want to get sued by the Kyle Rittenhouse bulldog lawyer, who also now happens to be representing Lou Elizondo. And by the way, in full disclosure, I did have a short conversation with that guy off the record. And I can't talk about what he said, but then I can say this. After our conversation, it seemed to me that he told me something, and then he made conflicting statements on Twitter saying that he would be, he identified, I suppose, Black Vault and the New York Post as targets. And we all know that who he was talking about. Well, those of us informed of all of this drama, people outside of UFO land, they don't know about any of this shit. But it would appear that the lawyer is confirming that two of his targets is John from the Black Vault, which I have a real problem with. We can get into, and Stephen Greenstreet, which again I have a real problem with. I support free speech and I support journalists discussing evidence, and that's all those two media personalities were doing. I don't know if they should, how do you term it? Is John a journalist? I guess you would call Stephen Greenstreet a journalist and John a researcher journalist, investigative journalist. I don't know what they prefer for titles, but those guys are doing good work. They're showing people the evidence and they're talking about it. They're not slandering anybody. They're not doing anything that qualifies under the definition of defamation. But welcome to America. You can sue anybody for anything in the United States of America. It doesn't matter if they actually, there's frivolous lawsuits filed all the time. It happens. And even if somebody files a frivolous lawsuit against you, I know one case, Corey Goode filed frivolous lawsuits against all his critics. And one of those critics, one C.W. Channer, some of you may be aware of, has had $15,000 plus in lawyer fees to fight a completely ridiculous, frivolous lawsuit because C.W. Channer had the audacity to go on YouTube and talk about the things that Corey Goode was saying and talk about how ridiculous and stupid and childish and implausible it is and how there was no evidence. He got sued for that. But I agree with what John from the Black Vault, he made a statement like, is this the country that I live in, that I'm not allowed to discuss evidence? I'm not allowed to show people what I found after digging for evidence for months? And to his credit, listen, I said it before, I'm going to say it again. If Lou Elizondo's lawyer threatens to sue me, I understand it. I would kind of understand it because I say stupid things and I'm not a trained journalist. I'm learning as I go to say things like alleged and in my opinion and based on available evidence, I believe. There's these statements and in journalism, they train you to say those things so that you are properly sharing the information that you have and not defaming somebody, even if what you're sharing casts the subject, the person in a bad light. You frame things a certain way. Language is important. You have to speak a certain way. Up until recently, I didn't speak that way. I just said what I thought, So I'm learning. I would understand it if they threaten to sue somebody like me. But I always think that like John from the Black Vault is kind of like the Walter Cronkite of UFOs. He's so serious and so matter of fact and so fair and so balanced, right? And he says when it's his opinion, he says, this is my opinion based on this evidence or whatever. I don't think there's anything wrong with what these people are doing. Now, the subject of tonight is the cult of Luis Elizondo. Now, some people instantly attacked me when they saw the title of tonight's show, but we're simply exploring and comparing known cult-like behavior, known cult dynamics. And this is a very common thing in psychology. Get any psychology book, almost any psychology book, especially Psychology 101, if you're taking a college course, there will be a section in there about cults and cult dynamics. And if you go through some of the cult dynamics and the ways to spot a cult and the characteristics of a cult, and we apply them to Luis Elizondo and all of the people around him and some of his supporters, you see an incredible amount of parallels between those two. And we're going to get into it tonight. before we do, in full disclosure, some people, I got a message, and I'm not gonna share it, but I'm because the person doesn't. Well, I don't know if they care if I share it, but in this email, someone said, Stephen, you are not qualified to judge Luis Elizondo or his efforts. You are obviously biased based on the attacks that you have suffered from some of his supporters. It is not clear that he directed those supporters to do those things to you. Therefore, you are biased against Luis Elizondo based on the attacks made in his name by his supporters. He may have had no idea that his supporters did those things to you, or condoned or supported those actions. Great. So somebody thinks I'm biased against Luis Elizondo, and let's talk about this in full disclosure. I'm going to say ass lickers. All right, I'm going to put away my let's be a professional journalist hat for a moment, because that's what those people are. Some people who lick his asshole, big, huge supporters, would do anything for him. Another show. And the show's co-hosts, who apparently, love Luis Elizondo so much, they could not stand any dissenting voices, anybody asking questions. And what was my sin? I hosted a filmmaker who made a film who, I'll admit, this film, Who's Lou, was very, very critical of Luis Elizondo and all of the claims that Luis Elizondo has made, and has made many in the film. He asked a lot of hard questions that none of the UFO circle jerk crowd is asking. Who's the UFO circle jerk crowd? Almost every show that Luis Elizondo has gone on have been huge fans of his and done nothing but softball him through the entire interview and not asked hard questions. So somebody made a documentary, put all the hard questions in. This other show, who hosted Luis Elizondo and are huge fans of his, they got so offended that I hosted and talked about that film with the filmmaker here that they began harassing me. Some would call it cyberbullying, cyber stalking, intimidating, threatening. They doxed me. And for those unaware, doxing means that let me be very, very clear, because this is probably going to a legal situation, in my case anyway, so I have to be very precise. They made an attempt to dox me by releasing my legal name. And I'll freely admit, Stephen Cambion is someone called a stage name. When I was 14 years old, I got into punk rock bands, and we were going to have a first show at 15 years old. I don't remember how old I was, a teenager. And I have a big, long, hard to spell, impossible to pronounce Polish last name. And I went to rock shows, and in many of the rock shows, people would introduce the band, right? On guitar, Johnny Shreds, and whatever. And so I used a stage name, okay? So in full disclosure, great, now you know. A lot of people do that, and they try to make that something nefarious. But I would challenge you to ask some of my oldest and closest friends, people who have known me for 20 or more years, what my legal last name is. Most of them don't know. Everybody knows me as that. My business, anyway, everybody knows me as that name. They try to make that into a big issue. He's lying to everyone. No, I'm not. I'll tell you the truth. I'll even give you my real legal last name if you really want to know. I'm not going to do it live on air, but, what they did is they published my legal last name and my street name in the same tweet. And then they said they didn't dox me. But I'm here to tell you, friends, and what is doxing? We can go into the definition of that. It's really essentially sharing personal information about somebody on the internet in order so that others can attack them, right? And it's a form of threat and intimidation and harassment. People don't release your legal name and the street you live on for fun. They do it so that people can come to your house and threaten you or intimidate you or harass you. And that's what this other show host did. And then they go, technically, we didn't dox him because we didn't give his address. We just gave the name of his street and his legal name. But I'm here to tell you, friends, if you Google my legal name and the name of the street I live on, the first thing that comes up is my street address. So yes, I believe that they did dox me. They did so intentionally. And by the way, that show host, I believe, condoned it. I messaged him and said, look at these tweets. I screenshotted it all. This is what your co-host and your so-called producer are doing to me right now. Do you condone this? You're going to let your co-host and your producer do that? He laughed about it. He laughed about it on his show, went on to dox me again live on his show, giving everybody my legal last name and more information about me. And most recently, that show host has slandered and defamed me, telling people that I'm a convicted felon with no evidence, no court records, no documents, no arrest history, no mugshot. He has no evidence of that. And I'm here to tell you, friends, I said I'm not going to talk about this, but I will again. For the benefit of the stupid people, I am not a convicted felon. Before I started my business, I worked in corporate America where I had access. I was a corporate credit manager and later an IT person. In both capacities, at both of those jobs, I had access to tens of thousands of customers' credit card numbers and the CV security number on the back. I had access to checking account numbers. I had the ability to direct draft right out of customers' accounts money with their authorization, of course. Wire transfers in and out of bank accounts with millions of dollars in them. Friends, if I was a convicted felon, no one would give me a job like that. They background check you. And John has made the offer that John from the Black Vault told somebody, hey, if you're unsure if I'm one of the felon 5, then we will. John offered to pay for a background check. Now, I'm not going to do that, but here's what I will do. I will make a public offer that anybody is free to get a background check of me and find out if I'm a convicted felon. And if you find proof that I'm a convicted felon, then I will pay whatever you paid for the background check, as long as you give me a receipt and the so-called evidence that you found. It's not going to happen, friends. I pass background checks routinely because I volunteer for children's charities. That's another thing you probably can't do as a convicted felon. But it didn't stop this idiot show host from just saying it, right? Lo, he's a convicted felon, right? The clip is on my Twitter. I'm not going to share that. He wants the attention, this clown. And by the way, if I were a failure of a father who abandoned his own children to go be somebody's gay houseboy, not that there's anything wrong with that, I would probably stop trying to make enemies on, YouTube. I would probably not try to damage somebody else's reputation when I'm a failure at life, right? But this is where we're at. So, again, in full disclosure, this is what happened to me. And this is just part of it. Because the attacks, the slandering, the harassment, the people trying to damage my reputation has continued up till today. This stuff happened months ago that we're talking about, me getting doxxed, etc. Then people started threatening my family by name, including some of you were witness to this. Someone came in our live chat here, said they were outside my house, and my wife sure looks good tonight. Be a shame if something happened to her, and named her by name. Does this sound like cult-like behavior to you? Because it does to me. Now, again, I don't have any evidence or proof that Lou Elizondo wanted them to do that, but he did appear on their show. And then on Twitter, I shared all the screenshots of everything that happened to me with Luis Elizondo. And then right after that, and all this happened to me, Luis Elizondo goes on that same show again. And I'm entitled to my opinion. I believe he was doing that to reward them for what they did to me. That's my opinion based on what I've seen, based on what happened. I don't think it's a coincidence that he goes on their show unannounced, last minute, I suppose, right after I got doxxed, threatened, intimidated, harassed. People are threatening my family. People come in my live chat and threaten my wife. And for what? Because I asked questions about a public servant who made all kinds of fantastical claims. I'm the director of a $22 million program. No, you're not. No, you're not. You never were. You lied. Somebody lied to the New York Times, Luis. Somebody lied to the New York Times. And since you were the primary source for that original article, again, based on available evidence, I'm going to assume it was you who lied to the New York Times and gave, let's just say, misleading information, inaccurate information, or not the entire story. You know, imagine if that article came out and it just said, Luis Elizondo, a guy who had no assigned responsibilities about UFOs, wasn't his full-time job to investigate UFOs, wasn't the director of any official Pentagon program, didn't have the funding of $22 million, had no funding apparently, in his spare time while he was working at the Pentagon in a completely, totally unrelated, in a role completely and totally unrelated to UFOs, in his spare time looked into some UFO stuff. Would that have been a little bit underwhelming and not have gotten the attention that article with the inaccurate, misleading, false information got? That article created a firestorm of publicity. And it helped launch To the Stars Academy. And that's another issue that I have. To the Stars Academy. I'm calling it a techno scam. They stood there on a stage and promised people a spaceship with a revolutionary power source that would change the world while they were soliciting public investment money from people. And I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. I've reached out. I keep on asking. I'm going to ask again. If you invested in TTSA and you made a single penny on your investment or got a single penny of the original money that you invested in TTSA back, please contact me at truthseekershow@gmail.com, because so far I've been unable to find anybody that made a single penny off their investment or even got their money back that they originally invested. I've talked to several people who told me they lost their entire investment, never saw anything from it, but they won't go on the record. Maybe they don't want to get doxxed, threatened, intimidated, harassed, or have their wives threatened either. You know? So this cult-like behavior that has been going on is absolutely ridiculous. And I, for one, am sick of it. And, you know, I have reached the point now where, you know, I am considering what I should do. You know, do I just let all that go? I have all the evidence and proof of all that stuff that happened to me. I have an incredible amount of media clips from this show host that's such an idiot that he says things on his show that are completely and totally factually correct, and then he laughs right after he says it. I have the screenshots where I informed him I'm not a felon. I have no criminal record, previous to him, again, making that statement on his show. He's been informed. He knows I'm not a convicted felon. He knows I have no criminal record, yet he still continues on YouTube live streams to publicly tell people I am a criminal. I am a convicted felon. This shows forethought, a complete disregard for facts, and malice. That's what that shows. He's been informed. He keeps saying it anyway, and he laughs about it. Then he puts, you know, all right, so we're going to get off of that. But now I do want to take the time to tell you that the cult is crumbling. That's my belief and speculation based on available evidence. And you would be amazed, my friends. You would be surprised and amazed at the number of people who have contacted me lately with stories surrounding this. I'm going to call it cult. That's my opinion. It's a cult. People are contacting me, and some people are making public statements right on Twitter, confirming much of what I have been saying has been taking place, confirming it. So we have a statement from one of the people who doxed me and threatened my family, right? Awesome. And here, you know, and it's great that, to me, a lot of these people are doing what they do because they're sucking up to their UFO celebrity heroes. And it would appear to me that they're willing to do anything to get closer, to get friendly, to become buddy-buddy with their UFO celebrity heroes, including doing completely and totally illegal things. These things are illegal. You can't dox someone. You can't threaten someone's family. That's illegal. It's called a terroristic threat. Look it up. So these people are so intent on getting in the good graces, and again, this is my opinion and speculation, they're so intent on getting in the good graces of their UFO celebrity heroes. And let's also remember that there's a financial motive here, because that show host I mentioned, his numbers are shit. Unless he has Lou Elizondo on, then he can get 10,000 views and make, what, $1,000, right? Big money for him, loser that he is. Great. So this is Gary, also known as Ack. And by the way, I'm not going to share them tonight, but I have them available, all the screenshots of this person, Gary, who is a producer on that shit show. I'm not even going to mention the name of the show because I don't want to drive traffic to somebody that's doxing me, slandering me, defaming me like an idiot. And by the way, besides being illegal, all those things that other show are doing are completely and totally against YouTube terms of service. I don't know how that guy still has a YouTube channel based on what he's doing. We've got clips of him telling people to CrowdStrike other YouTube channels. That's against YouTube terms of service. We've got clips of him after he's been informed that I have no criminal record and I am not a felon. We have clips of him telling everybody in his audience and publicly on YouTube that I am a convicted felon. That is against YouTube terms of service. And also, I learned a word from Luis Elizondo's lawyer. Doing that is also something that's called actionable, because I can show that he was informed that I have no criminal record. I am not a felon. So that shows that he disregarded facts. And he did what he did with malice, and I have the clip of him saying that and laughing about it. Great. So this is Ack, the one-time producer for that idiot, who says, and again, here he is now, instead of sucking up to Luis Elizondo, in my opinion, he's trying to suck up to John from the Black Vault, but, you know, it is what it is. He's commenting on John's piece on the Luis Elizondo AG complaint. He says, very well put together, John, a very insightful and thorough deep dive. And before I get sued for saying that Luis Elizondo's supporters act like a cult, here's one of the former cult members calling it a cult. He says, there is a cult of Lou, and sadly, I was a part of it for a while, doing things and saying things I shouldn't have done. And by the way, I just want to mention that I'm a Christian and I'm a forgiving man. So if this Gary Ack just contacts me and apologizes for what he did to me and my family, I'll forgive him. But he hasn't apologized and he hasn't reached out to me to make amends for what he did to me and what he put me and my family through. But if he does that as a Christian man, I'll forgive him. He says, I was doing things and saying things I shouldn't have done. When I stepped back from it and started applying logic instead of blindly following, I noticed a lot of new things. I also know what is going on behind the scenes. There is more to this than meets the eye. Casually place people in certain social media areas controlling various things, and to make sure the diehard followers react to create disorder and chaos. And the same the other way. Talking to you privately, making you feel like you were doing the right thing, being promised stuff that never happens, and the second you question something, you are booted out. There is a few people working on behalf of Lou on UFO Twitter at the moment, whose, quote, job, unquote, it is to make sure we keep fighting. It worked on me for a while. I'm glad to be out of it. It's too nasty and vicious and calculated. Another angle they use is recruiting veterans like Rob Heatherly. And boy, that's another thing. If I was a show host and I had a co-host in the form of Rob Heatherly, who had, what, hours and hours and hours of 8-year-old girls dancing on his public YouTube channel. And by the way, I have captures of all that. If I was a show host and I had a co-host who had questionable, let's just say questionable material concerning children on his YouTube channel, I might not want to piss off another show host. that has copies of all that, right? Maybe, just maybe. All right. All right. Another angle they use is recruiting veterans because it's frowned upon to call out veterans, so people don't question anything. It's all a club. Again, thank you, John, for all your hard work on this. So there is the person. And by the way, I have the screenshots of that person taking action against me with the doxing and the threats and the intimidation and the harassment. I have all those shots as well to go with this shot I just shared with you. I'm not blowing my load tonight. I'm not going to blow my whole load. I got good dick control. Okay. I'm going to keep some things. And, I've got a lot more. I got a lot more for you. I got so much more about all this. But tonight we're just going to share a portion of what I have, just enough to show you that I'm serious and that, what I'm telling you is factual. I'm not sitting here making things up. This happened to me. And but back to someone saying that I'm biased. Okay, you're right. I'll admit it. I may have a bias or a grudge. I might be harboring a grudge against Luis Elizondo because I reached out to him through Twitter and showed him all this and asked him, please, come on, you can't let them threaten my children, my family, or something. I'm paraphrasing. I don't want to get beat up later. Somebody's going to find the tweet. Crickets, nothing from Luis Elizondo. And I suppose the justification from the Luites, oh, that's another thing. That show host who's telling everybody I'm a convicted felon has said I'm an anti-Luite. So here's another cult-like behavior. It's the cult of Luites, apparently. Because if you're asking too many questions or questioning Luis Elizondo, you're an anti-Luite. So I'm assuming that the good guys are the Luites. And we're the bad guys here because, we ask too many questions. That's cultic to me. You got a name for your cult, the Luites, and they got a name for the bad guys. The bad guys are the anti-Luites, kind of like Scientology, SPs. Everybody opposed to Scientology is a suppressive person, right? So I have a lot more to share, but we're going to be cautious in just how much I do share. I do want to make sure that I mention, and sometimes things happen for a reason, and I'm glad for when things happen for a reason, because I was very critical of another show host who I will name, and that would be Lou Angeles from Unidentified Celebrity Review. I was very critical of the way that he handled some 7 interviews with Lou, and I stated, you can find record of me saying that I thought that Lou from Unidentified Celebrity Review was being used and manipulated and used for a mouthpiece to get whatever information that Lou Elizondo felt like talking about out without being challenged one bit. And I will stand by my statement that I don't believe that Lou Angeles did his job correctly and that he did not ask him, in my opinion, any hard questions. There's that and some other things I disagree with, but largely, I felt that I changed my opinion of him because welcome to the party, pal, Lou Angeles. After years of me getting this crap from these people, some of you are aware that after interviewing Luis Elizondo some 7 times, I believe, they had falling out because one of Lou Angeles' co-hosts asked a question about the sock puppet accounts that Lou Elizondo is, to some people would say, well known to employ to attack his critics. And so that created a rift between them. And then suddenly Lou Angeles went from being in their good graces and a great guy and a huge supporter to being the devil. He is the devil now. And this, my friends, is more cult-like behavior. Look at what happens when somebody leaves Scientology. Look at what they do to people who leave cults. They do everything they can to tarnish their image, discredit them, call them crazy. All of this right now is happening to Lou Angeles from Unidentified Celebrity Review. So despite my differences with that guy, I now say I support him because now he's speaking out. And I support him doing that. I hear that tomorrow on his show, he's going to have a banger. And he's going to, he's finally going to open up. And I say good for him. It's cathartic, Lou Angeles. Get it out. Get it out of your system. It's cancerous if you hold it in. Can't hold that shit in. You got to let it all out, bro. Let it all out tomorrow. Everything you know, all the dirty shit, let it all out. Can't let this stuff continue, because if you don't speak up, there's going to be more victims like me, like you. So I stand with Lou Angeles, and I know stranger things have happened here, but yeah, I'm sticking up for that guy. And by the way, I'm giving everybody my firm commitment that I'm going to try. All I can do is try, because I'm a human. I'm going to try to be fair to people. I am very judgmental, right? I have my own set of ethics, morality, and the right way I think you should do things. And I thought about this situation a lot with that guy, and I was unfair to him because I have my own ethics, morality, and way of doing things. And I can't blame somebody who has their way of doing it. I can disagree with that guy and not hate him for it or whatever. So he has my apology for anything that I said unkind, and I did judge him, perhaps unfairly. And I'm just glad that he has mustered the courage to do the right thing, and he's going to stand up and speak out. And I encourage all of you to be there tomorrow to support him. I will be there, unless I'm working on Dino Beaver animations, and that's a whole nother story, friends. So there is more to share here. Where did that go? I thought that worked. Yes. Silence dissenters at all costs. These are your heroes, part-time men of principle. And this, of course, is from Lou Angeles of Unidentified Celebrity Review. And he says, thank you for verifying everything I ever thought about you, and see you tomorrow. Video unavailable. This video is no longer available due to a copyright claim by Sean Christopher Cahill. And unfortunately, friends, for the same reason, I cannot share the thumbnail. So apparently there was a picture of Christopher Cahill in the thumbnail. And Christopher Cahill copyright claimed Unidentified Celebrity Review and Lou Angeles and got their video taken down. I have so much to say about this, but I think it's probably best to let Lou Angeles talk about this tomorrow. It's what's happening to him. This isn't me that they did this to. But I will say that I agree with him. This is something that cults do. They silence dissenters at all costs. What right does Sean Cahill have to copyright claim and have a stream that hasn't even been broadcast yet taken down off of YouTube? Does he have the right to do that? I don't think he does. Maybe Lou did use an image from his website or something. By the way, you can follow me on Twitter at Stephen Cambion, and you can see the image that Lou Angeles used. And in that image, again, I'm not going to share it, because if I share it, they will take down my show here. And we have to be very careful of these things. But in the image, Lou Angeles says, those UFO propaganda shows. And here's another thing I'm happy about. He's starting to name names. You know, I've told you guys this before, there's an unwritten rule in this thing that you don't go after other people in this thing and tell people that they're bullshit. You just don't do it. You don't name names. I'm one of the only few people that actually name names. I'll tell you, this person's full of shit and why. And we have evidence, we show people, look at this fake crap story these people are pushing. Here's the truth of this story. It's totally fake. And in his thumbnail, to his credit, I'm not going to name him. He can. But yeah, we've got a bunch of shows named. And he says those UFO propaganda shows, clicks with a K, clicks with a Q, and money. And this is taking place tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And by the way, I need a bump from him much more than he needs a bump from me. But I think it's important enough to stop other people from becoming victims of these people. I'll send them viewers for sure. and I fully support what he's doing. And this, my friends, will show you what lengths they're going to go to. You're going to copyright strike somebody over a goddamn image? Really? And by the way, Sean Cahill, what you just did may be illegal. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but you're a public figure. And you're making a lot of public statements that are worthy of criticism, debate, and discussion. Lou Angeles is perfectly within his legal rights to use an image of you as he's offering commentary about you. So I don't understand how you have some right to copyright claim or copyright strike him and have his video taken down. And friends, this isn't about copyrights. This is about attacking a man who is about to speak out. Maybe, just maybe, Lou Angeles is about to spill some beans that they would rather stay in the can, friends. That's what I think. I think Lou Angeles is about to spill some beans tomorrow that they would prefer stay in that can. So here we go, attack them. And what do? These military men, these big, strong, tough guys. Oh, the keyboard warrior. We'll get that video taken down. I'm Sean Cahill. I'm going to copyright claim, so he can't do it. He's just going to put it up without an image of you, dummy. You're not going to stop him. Or I hope to God you didn't stop him. I don't think you can. He just has to put up a new stream. He didn't even broadcast the show yet. So all he has to do is put up a stream and take your ugly mug. By the way, that was personal, and I apologize. I don't care if Sean Cahill is handsome or ugly, but I care that I believe that what he just did is a despicable thing to do, is a dirty, underhanded, slimy, rotten, low-down thing to do. A weasel does what Sean Cahill just did. This is your hero? This weasel that has to hide on the internet? I'll take that stream down. Yeah, great. How dare? And this, friends, it's not just Lou Angeles. It's not just me or Manny from Area 503. And I can't believe I'm going to defend him or this goof-on guy or other people out there channel. There's a lot of shows. Josh and Artemis. You know, it's not just me or Lou Angeles that's getting attacked, threatened, intimidated. It is others. And if we don't stand up and all talk about this and say, this is not acceptable, it's going to keep happening to more people. I don't want anybody to go through what I had to go through and my family had to go through. I don't want that to happen to any other people. That's why I'm speaking out about it. And maybe, just maybe, that's why Lou Angeles is finally speaking up about this stuff. So I have a few more things to share. And by the way, in full disclosure, through Spooky, I did say that Lou Angeles could come on the show, but then I said maybe it's best if he just says what he has to say on his show. But he's welcome here. The door's open, and let bygones be bygones. I think sometimes you have to put aside personal differences for the greater good, and I'm willing to do that if he is. So there's that. So but the subject of tonight's show really is, I got blurry like Bigfoot there. The subject of tonight's show really is the cult of Lou Angeles, or excuse me, not Lou Angeles. Well, the cult of Luis Elizondo, and a shocking comparison. So I found this online, and it's about cult dynamics. It's from a psychology website. And while I read this, I want you to remember these things that are going on. I also want you to keep in mind the revelations that Josh and Artemis brought us when they talked about how Luis Elizondo maintains these secret groups where you could, go have a talk with your hero, Luis Elizondo, and he shows people in these secret groups, these secret things that only the inner circle gets to see. And it's a form of reward for the people that are most loyal. And again, I'm paraphrasing all this. If I'm getting it wrong, don't sue me, Todd McGurtree. So apparently there's these secret groups. Josh and Artemis talked about it, where you go and you can talk to Luis Elizondo and he shows people special videos that nobody else has seen and other things, and promises people secret information that he's not going to talk about publicly yet, but you're in on it. Sounds very cult-like, doesn't it? Now, let's read some of the characteristics associated with cults. And I want you to tell me, and by the way, I'm not saying that Luis Elizondo is running a cult, but I am here comparing what's going on with all of the supporters and people who support Luis Elizondo and the people around him and cults. We're making a comparison here, and I'm just asking questions here. So the question I would ask is, after all this behavior that we have seen, right? Gaslighting people, threatening people, intimidating people, harassing people, all of which were critics or were critical of Luis Elizondo. Secret groups with secret information, only for those most loyal. The way they treat people who leave the group. We've seen that with Lou Angeles. We've seen how they treated Josh and Artemis and others who have left, and more. My question really is, the question here really is, as I read these characteristics of cults, doesn't this sound dead on to what's been happening around Luis Elizondo? 1, the group displays excessively zealous and unquestioning commitment to its leader and, whether he is alive or dead, regards to his belief system, ideology, and practices as the truth, as law. Yes. Number 2, questioning, doubt, and dissent are discouraged or even punished. Well, we've just seen Lou Angeles being punished. They just copyright struck him before he even said a word. That's how scared. I think they're scared of what he has to say. I can't wait to hear what he has to say. It must be good if they're willing to copyright claim him, punish him before he's even said a word. So questioning, doubt, and dissent are discouraged or even punished. Mind-altering practices such as meditation, chanting, speaking in tongues. Well, this one doesn't really apply to Luis Elizondo, but I think it's funny because it applies to Stephen Greer, of course, right? The leadership dictates, sometimes in great detail, how members should think, act, and feel. That is, members must get permission to date, change jobs, or marry. Well, I'm not aware that he's made anybody get permission to date, change jobs, or marry, but I am aware of at least 2 people who contacted me who told me that while really in this group, they were told who they could speak to, who they could not speak to. And I would encourage Lou Angeles. I believe that they told Lou Angeles that he should not speak to me, Stephen Cambion, right? And that would be confirmation of this point by multiple people. Maybe Josh and Artemis have experienced Lou or, the people in his inner circle telling them who they can and cannot speak to. I believe I was on that list of people that people should never, ever speak to. And, I take that as a badge of honor. It must mean that I'm asking the right questions if the, glorious leader doesn't even want you to talk to me, right? Or listen, by the way. I know specifically that people were told, don't listen to his show, don't watch his show. Why would they tell people what they can and can't watch, friends? But again, it matches cult dynamics here, characteristics associated with cults. Okay. The group is elitist, claiming a special exalted status for itself, its leaders, and its members. The leader is considered the Messiah, a special being, an avatar. Or the group and/or the leader is on a special mission to save humanity. Does this sound familiar to anybody? They're on a special mission? Disclosure. Their whole mission is disclosure. We got to get disclosure. Lou Elizondo is the savior of disclosure. He's going to bring us disclosure. The only information that I have learned from Luis Elizondo since 2017 or 2016, when that New York Times article broke and TTSA came out, the only thing I've learned from Luis Elizondo is that he likes money. That's what I've learned. He has not given us anything new except for, I guess, 3 videos, if you want to credit him with that. And there's a whole thing about that being maybe not legal. Who knows? Nothing new. How is he bringing us disclosure? I don't get it. Okay. Here we go. Another characteristic. The group has a polarized us versus them mentality, which may cause conflict with the wider society. You think so? Us versus them. Hey, that guy, Steve Cambion, hosted a filmmaker who was critical of dear leader Luis Elizondo. We've got to threaten him, intimidate him, harass him, go in his live chat and threaten his wife, mention her name so he knows you mean business. Yeah, they have an us versus them mentality, right? To me, it wasn't personal before they started threatening my family. And by the way, not just my wife, my children were named, right? Somebody stalked my my Facebook and my wife's Facebook. There is definitely an us versus them mentality with these people. And that, my friends, is one of the characteristics associated with cults. So all you people critical of my show title tonight, maybe I'm not so crazy here. You know, I didn't write this. A psychologist wrote this. That's an expert on cults and characteristics of cults. Why does it match so closely what's going on with Luis Elizondo? Right? I'm not crazy. It does match. You can't deny that many of these characteristics associated with cults we can see happening here around Luis Elizondo. Okay. All right. Here's another one. The group teaches or implies that its supposedly exalted ends justify whatever means it deems necessary. This may result in members participating in behaviors or activities they would have considered reprehensible or unethical before joining the group. That is, lying to family or friends, collecting money for bogus charities, etc. The leadership induces feelings of shame and or guilt in order to influence and control members. Often, this is done through peer pressure and subtle forms of persuasion. Well, that one's kind of gray. I would say that he shamed Lou Angeles. How dare you ask me a hard question? How dare you share information with Stephen Greenstreet that I would prefer he not know, right? He certainly shamed him. He shamed him by turning his back on his once friend Lou Angeles. It's a form of punishment, and all cults do it, friends. All cults do that. In some Christian sects, there's something called shunning. The Amish do it. If you piss off the leader, they all turn their back on you. What happened to Lou Angeles? What happened to Josh and Artemis? They all turned their back on them, and now those people are evil. They're liars. They're the devil. Well, why were they such close friends, allies, and associates of yours before they started asking too many questions, and now they're the devil? You can see how this is very cult-like. Subservience to the leader or group requires members to cut ties with family and friends and radically alter their personal goals and activities they had before joining the group. Does anyone else think that it's a little more than a coincidence that a former counterintelligence officer just happened? And by the way, I might be getting this story wrong, and if I am, he's free to correct me or somebody can correct me. But I heard the story that Lou Elizondo just so happened to walk into a restaurant that Lou Angeles worked in. And Lou Angeles, is a guy running a UFO show, and a former counterintelligence guy, a spook, essentially, intelligence officer, just so happens to walk into the restaurant where Lou Angeles is working while he's also trying to get a UFO show off the ground. I don't think that is a coincidence. And suddenly Lou Angeles is dropping everything, willing to do anything he can to help Lou Elizondo with his mission of disclosure, right? So that one, we can see at least one example in the form of Lou Angeles from Unidentified Celebrity Review. All right, now we have the group is preoccupied with bringing in new members. Well, I've talked to many people who felt like they were being recruited and asked to do things. So I think that one pretty much applies. Members are expected to devote inordinate amounts of time to the group or group-related activities. I'm not sure on that one, but I'm pretty sure that Lou Elizondo has an army of podcast hosts that are willing to sit there and softball him and volunteer their time so that he can spout his nonsense unchallenged without being questioned or, scrutinized for his some would say ridiculous claims. I think that one applies, right? Here's another one that jumped out at me, right? Members are encouraged or required to live and or socialize only with other group members. Again, I've had many people tell me that people were told not to speak to me, not to listen to my show. Don't be friends with him. And I'm not the only one. Here's another point. The most loyal members, the true believers, feel there can be no life outside of context of the group. They believe there is no other way to be and often fear reprisals to themselves or others if they leave or even consider leaving the group. Yeah. So there is, it also mentions the group is preoccupied with making money. Yeah. Yeah. So there's an awful lot of these cult-like characteristics that seem to match the current situation. Here's what I'm going to do. I am going to go on over to the live chat. We're going to thank and recognize all our kind and generous supporters. And I'm putting the link to that characteristics of a cult into the live chat. If you want to read that, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think in the live chat. Does this recent behavior match the characteristics of a cult? I know what I think, but I'm more interested in what you think. Let me know in the comments if you're listening to the replay. Is this situation that's been going on lately, does it match the characteristics of a cult? We've read them off. It seems pretty clear to me that there are some severely cult-like characteristics going on here, and things that cults do that are going on here. And by the way, I was going to play, I'm not going to tonight, but I will encourage you to, you know what I'll do? I will put a link to it. I have a link to share with you that I think is very, very important and topical. And that is the story of Teresa Llaneras. For those that don't remember or may perhaps be unaware, Teresa Llaneras was once one of the big mouthpieces and inner circle members of the Corey Good cult. And she has experienced all of what Lou Angeles is now experiencing, and others who are leaving the cult of Luis Elizondo are experiencing. Teresa Llaneras had her reputation destroyed, her business destroyed. She was threatened, intimidated, doxxed, harassed, and more. All because she left. And now in her case, it's interesting that she did not, to this day, she has not really spoken out directly against Corey Good. She spoke in general terms about being influenced by New Age cultic-like people that were around her, but she has not really, she hasn't really named names, really. You know, she hasn't said she's talking about Corey, but everybody knows in these videos that she's talking about Corey. And I am going to, you know what, we'll play a portion of it. 1 second, friends. One second, friends. I just want to get this queued up. And we're going to cite fair use. This is a transformative work. We are educating the public. This is a video, formerly, I believe she used to be called Divine Frequency, her YouTube channel, but she has dropped that because most of her Divine Frequency videos were about Corey Good and New Age stuff, and she has since found Jesus. Some have argued that she traded one cult for another. I'm not going to comment on that. I'm a Christian myself. I support whatever she chooses to do. But I think that it's a cautionary tale, because all this has happened before, friends, and it will all happen again. Some of you may remember that before Luis Elizondo was the guy getting the big, huge numbers that everybody was talking about, Corey Good was that guy. He was the alpha dog for a while. And while he was, the same things happened. The same exact things happened. A bunch of echo chamber, UFO disinformation podcasts and show hosts would help Corey Good spread his garbage and hype up his latest, whatever he was selling, and they wouldn't push back. They would all softball him. Does this sound familiar? Yeah, because all of this has happened before, and it will all happen again. Luis Elizondo, in my opinion, is just the latest in a long line of UFO celebrities, saviors of disclosure that bring us nothing. But they sure fill their pockets with money. They're good at that. They're good at filling their pockets with money, but they're coming through with the promises after they've overpromised and delivered. How long is Luis Elizondo going to hype up UFOs and disclosure before he shows us one tangible, irrefutable piece of evidence of alien existence or visitation on Earth? How much money does he need before he's going to give us that? When will he ever give us that? Or is he just like all the other people who overpromise, underdeliver, and never give us the goods, friends? So this is a transformative work. We're educating the public. And by the way, I have prayed for Teresa Yaneros because she went through hell after she left the good graces of Corey Goode. And by the way, in her circumstance, she was encouraged to have a boyfriend that was in Corey Goode's inner circle. She was encouraged to only speak to people in Corey Goode's inner circle. She was encouraged to start a business that would support Corey Goode and work with Corey Goode. She was used as a mouthpiece and as a facilitator of disinformation. All of this she freely admits now after having left the good graces of Corey Goode. And some of you may be aware that this girl, Teresa Yaneros, her sister, Valerie, is still in the good graces. So I'm unclear whether she has lost her relationship with her sister, but I don't believe that Corey Goode, whose lawyer is this girl's sister, who's suing all. Let me say it better. The lawyer for Corey Goode, who is suing all of Corey Goode's critics, is Valerie Yaneros, who is this girl, Teresa Yaneros, who spoke out and left the cult's sister. That's how damaging this stuff can get. So where is the... 1 second, friends. I lost it. Oh, let me try that again. All right, I have to get the video now. That would help. All right, we can do this. 1 second. I got it. I got it now, I think. Yes, I do. Okay, so this is a transformative work. We're going to share this video to educate the public about the dangers of UFO cults, and we'll be discussing and critiquing the video while we're sharing it. Let's do that once more. Stupid share. I hate that thing. Share system audio. Great. All right, here we go. Now we got it, friends. Sorry for the delay.
Light occult and dark occult, that magical powers could be harnessed for good or evil. That's not true. It's not true at all. And the occult is the occult, and all of it is evil. You're accessing power from evil realms. You deny God and you take on personal power. You're looking to yourself as a god. I became selfish and I got further and further away from God, and to the point where I couldn't even hear his voice anymore because I was not in his kingdom. I remember when I realized what was going on in my life, when I realized that the occult had brought me to my knees, had put my life in shambles. I picked up my Bible and I started learning for the first time. I mean, I was raised Catholic. I was in the church till I was 16, and then I went off, into college, and I stopped going to church. But I had not real tangible access to the Word of God until a year ago. I think for me, it took me going through the darkness and literally staring the devil in the face to realize that, oh my gosh, this stuff is real and it's evil and it's taking me down and it's destroying my soul.
Yeah, and it's interesting to note that she titled this video "The New Age UFO Cult Hybrid," because she believed that Corey Goode was not only using New Age beliefs but also occult beliefs, and it gets pretty woo, black magic and spells and all kinds of dark forces apparently.
I remember when I realized that the tarot cards and all the New Age books that I had around me and all of the New Age philosophies and everything that I had been hanging my hat on and learning about, all of it was not doing me any good at all. The reality is, New Age practices, they get you spun up in this hamster wheel of seeking knowledge. So there's actually something I wanted to read you guys.
You know what? I probably don't have this queued to a good section. So here's what I'm going to do, friends. I will put the link to her video in the live chat. I encourage anybody to really go and listen to her whole video, because she does talk in more detail about, the people around her who are telling her aliens are real and the dark forces that they were messing with and all of these things. It's a cautionary tale. Teresa Llaneros is a cautionary tale because she was deep in the Corey Goode, I'm going to call it a cult, the Corey Goode cult. She was one of the right-hand people of him. And she was told what to eat. She was told when, what friends she was allowed to talk to. And in full disclosure, I did have a conversation with her after her leaving the Corey Goode cult, and she was told that I was Satan. That I was not Satan. She was told that I was a Luciferian, Satan-worshiping or devil-worshiping Satanist, and that I was evil, and that I was out to get Corey Goode because he was the light bringer, and he was, a light worker, and I was a dark worker. And she, near as I recall, it's been some time since our conversation. And by the way, God bless her. I prayed for her at the time. I will continue to pray for her. She expressed to me that they told everybody that. Corey Goode's cult told everybody not to listen to me, that I was evil, that I was out to get Corey Goode, that I was a Luciferian Satanist or a devil-worshipping Satanist. And, this is the kind of things that they do. And in the case of Teresa Llaneros, she heard it so much. And by the way, it wasn't just me that they were saying that about. It was Dark Journalist, it was C.W. Channer, it was Joe from the Carolinas, and many other people. All people, Bill Ryan, Richard Dolan, basically anybody that questioned Corey Goode's narratives or his lack of evidence or anything, they labeled a Luciferian Satanist devil worshiper that's evil and out to get Corey Goode. And they kept repeating this, according to my conversation with her, so much so that she believed it at one time. She believed that I was a Luciferian Satanist and I was out to get him and all of this stuff. But she did wake up and realize that she was being brainwashed in a cult. And here we could see parallels, friends, because I can show you examples of people that are, big Lou Elizondo supporters that are telling people, maybe not telling people that I'm a Luciferian blood-drinking Satanist, but telling people that I'm the bad guy here. Telling people they shouldn't listen to me because, one reason or another. I'm a liar, I'm a felon, I'm a criminal. None of which those things they have established with any facts or evidence, but they will continue to tell people that. It's almost like that Nazi ideology. Who is it, Goebbels? The Nazi propaganda minister who said, if you repeat a lie enough, loudly enough, and boldly enough, people eventually will believe it's the truth. That's what these people do. So I'm the bad guy. And you see, the reason I bring up this Corey Good cult is, like I said, all this has happened before, friends. And I was here for the first movie, okay? This is a rerun to me. And all these things that are happening are another rerun to me. Because I've been through this before with the Corey Good cult. I've been doxxed before, threatened, intimidated, harassed, slandered, defamed. People trying to tarnish my reputation, turn people against me, turn people away from me, tell everybody what a bad person I am. All because I asked questions about dear leader Corey Good. And the same thing happened again when I asked questions about dear leader Luis Elizondo. So this is where we're at, friends, and this is where we find ourselves. I promise you that we've been here before, and I promise you that I believe that more damaging information will be coming forward about one Luis Elizondo, especially tomorrow, I think. But, you know, I mean more than that, independent of whatever Luis Angeles has to say. And by the way, I'm going to pray for him tonight that he, you know, does the right thing, you know, and has the right speech, right action, and right intention tomorrow, and does what he needs to do. I'll pray for him. But independent of whatever Lou Angeles says tomorrow, I'm aware of some things that I hope will be coming out. And by the way, there are multiple sources speaking to me, many of which prefer not to go on the record. I'm trying to get people to come here, show their face, show their name, and repeat what they've told me privately. But as you can understand, they're looking around seeing people with their wives getting threatened, getting called felons, and they're a little hesitant to do that. And I think that's completely understandable, that somebody wouldn't want to go on a show and show their name and face and say anything negative about this group, considering we've seen what they're capable of. And by the way, in full fairness to Luis Elizondo, I replied to his tweets with the information about me and my family and what happened and what that show host did. In full fairness, maybe he didn't read it, maybe he wasn't aware of it, but he did go on that show right after they did all that to me. And it's not just me, Mr. Luis Elizondo. Many people critical of you took that as you rewarding the people on that show, the host, the co-host, and the producer for all that they did to me. Now, in my case, I can prove in a court of law that all that happened to me. I can prove that. I have all of the evidence. I've saved everything, including screenshots of me informing you on Twitter that this was happening. But in full fairness, I have to admit that maybe he didn't read it, maybe he wasn't aware. And in full fairness, and let's be fair to him, he never publicly said, you know, I don't have a screenshot of him telling them to do that. I don't know that he told them to do that. I have to admit that my information about all this is limited, and all I can do is form conclusions based on the available evidence that I do have. So there's a limit to my information and knowledge, and I'm freely admitting that to you, my audience members, and anybody who asks me. But I will challenge Luis Elizondo. I'm going to tweet this video at him, and in fact, I'm going to make it easy for him, and I'm going to clip out this section of the show where we're talking about this specific issue. And I would like to know, what does he think about his supporters doxing people, threatening their children, threatening their family, coming in the live chat and threatening their wife by name? Do you support that, Mr. Elizondo? Do you condone that sort of behavior done in your name? They did it in your name. I have the screenshots. How dare you question Lou? And then they did what they did. It's in all the screenshots, Mr. Elizondo. So I'm going to challenge you. You portray yourself to be an honorable man. Does an honorable man sit back and let his supporters threaten people's wives and children? By the way, my children are 5 and 10. What kind of man threatens a 5-year-old, right? I'm sorry, 6 and 10 now. It was 5 and 10 at the time. What kind of a man threatens a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old child? Do you really support that, Mr. Elizondo? Because people assumed you supported it, since right after that show did that to me, you went on their show again. Good for you. And, I will say again that I'm a Christian person, and I have been really working on myself lately. Some of you are aware that I am now, I am 80 days sober, 80 days without alcohol. But besides the lack of alcohol, which I believe was a detrimental influence in my life, I am just working on other portions of myself. I'm working this 12-step program and other things. And I'm also trying to be a better Christian. And Christians are supposed to turn the other cheek. And I can turn the other cheek about almost anything. I really can. But I'm still having a hard time forgiving all of these people that did this to me, and forgiving Mr. Elizondo, who, in full disclosure, I may have blamed or thought was the cause of it, and I may have done so unfairly I have to be honest. I maybe it's not fair to blame him. Maybe he was unaware. I'll say it again. Maybe he didn't condone it or wouldn't condone that, but we haven't heard a statement from him about this. And while we're on that subject, the Who's Lou documentary film producer Manny was also doxxed. His girlfriend was doxxed. His girlfriend was threatened. It takes a real tough guy, real macho man to threaten a woman, right? To harass, intimidate, and threaten a woman on the internet, right? And also, in full disclosure, I do want to mention that this show host and his and Rob Heatherly, who likes to watch hours and hours and hours of 8-year-old little girls dancing on YouTube, and I have the playlist to prove it. And this ack. I mean, it's really a stupid thing for them to do, to threaten my wife. Because I'm telling you the honest to God truth, my wife would beat the living shit out of the three of them at once. She's a very tough woman. So, forget about me here. You guys really should shut your mouth. You don't know who you're threatening, especially, I'm gonna you listen. I'm sure there's a lot of women listening to me and within the sound of my broadcast who have children. What would you be willing to do to a man that's threatening your children? How many mothers does everybody know? How does a mother take it when you threaten their children? My wife's a lioness. She will eat them alive. And although she can take care of herself, I'm her husband, and it's my job to protect my family. And let's make no mistake, we have, since this stuff happened, we have a hell of a security system here now. And I have quite a collection of weapons, and I'm just going to leave it at that. And it would be extremely foolish for anybody to come here who wants to threaten my family especially. But we're going to move on with some things. I'm getting some messages right now. I do want to share some things from our chat room monitor, Six's Design, the Sixth Sense, who has been sharing some of this stuff. Some of the things that have been happening. And by the way, these guys really are pussies. There, I said it. These people with these attacks, because there's so many sock accounts and people are hiding behind fake Twitter, fake Twitter IDs, right? All right, let's see here. I'm trying to get Six's Design. I'm trying to get those screenshots that you shared, but you've been tweeting up a storm lately, and I'm scrolling back here. Maybe I'm mistaken, but Six's Design. It's at Six's Designs on Twitter. He has all of these screenshots of them calling, a whole bunch of people, the Felon 55 or the Felon 5. That was a whole nother thing. These attacks are absolutely ridiculous. And I think that it's very telling that people have to hide behind their computers and attack people from a keyboard. It makes me wonder, for example, those 3 people from that show. What would you do if I was standing right in front of you? Would you do the same thing? And here's another issue where this essentially proves that this is very cult-like. What kind of people risk criminal prosecution to threaten people's families publicly? It's not like they were smart enough to, hide their IP, use a burner Twitter account to dox me or threaten me. They did it with their known accounts. Oh, geez. Yeah, so I maybe it was the Discord where he was sharing that. Six Design, I thought that you had shared all of this ancient history, right? Of some of the doxing and all of that stuff, but it's on his Twitter. We don't need to share everything this evening. It's enough to let our audience know that we have copies of all of this, and we have been carefully detailing and keeping records of everything that has been happening. Probably, in my case, since 2017. And yes, I have even saved all the hate mails, including the metadata, so that I can IP match people if it should become necessary for me to do that. All right, 1 second. We are going to spend some time with the live chat, and we are going to thank and recognize all of you. Oh, by the way, I have a very important show announcement. There is something on YouTube called Super Thanks, which we weren't able to do before. I don't know. I checked and it said we were not eligible. For those unaware, on YouTube, on a live stream, there's something called Super Chats. And during a live stream, you can send us a couple of bucks, throw a couple of bucks in our hat, and that helps support the show. But if you're watching the replay, you can only do that through PayPal. And by the way, there are instructions to send us a couple of bucks through PayPal or Cash App in the description of this video. I'm terrible at begging for money, so it's enough to say, if you're feeling generous, there's some links in the description of this video. If we're not live, if we're live, there's a money button down there called the Super Chat, and you can buy a super sticker or send a Super Chat message. And it really does help the show. But now there's something called Super Thanks. So you people on the replay crew, I know many of you cannot make the live broadcast, and I thank and appreciate every one of you who tunes in, if you missed the live show, to watch the video after the broadcast ends. We love you guys too. Now, there is a Super Thanks button. So anytime you're watching any content here on Truth Seekers Now, you can throw a couple of bucks in our hat and keep us making this great content. Again, I'm terrible at begging for money, so that's my pitch. It's terrible. Sorry, friends. I'm reminded of something called busking, and this live stream and begging for the money is kind of like busking. For those unaware, if you've ever seen a guy playing guitar with the money, with a couple of bucks and his guitar case open, and he puts a couple of bucks in it to start and hopes people throw money in it, that's called busking. And musicians do it, magicians do it, singers do it, comedians even do it. Stand there and tell jokes all day, hoping people throw a couple bucks in your hat. Well, I'm sitting here telling, giving you information, hoping, busking, essentially, same thing, hoping that somebody will throw a couple of bucks in our hat. And my thanks to all of you who do that. My favorite, the very best busker that I have ever seen in my life was a guy in Atlantic City who later became friends with me. He was a magician, and I met him, and he told me, hey, I'm going to do my busking set out on the boardwalk. Come and check me out. And I did, and he was great. Everybody was laughing. He was doing magic tricks, and he was pulling eggs out of people's pockets and shit. It was awesome. He was a great magician. But at the end of his 5-minute or 10-minute show, he would remind everybody they could throw a couple of bucks in his hat. And then he would say, now remember, kids, it was a lot of kids there with their parents. It was all families. He would say, people would throw a couple of bucks in when he asked. And, he's doing magic tricks. But the real kicker at the end was he would say, he would look at all the children. He'd say, did you like my magic show? Did you like my magic? Did you like my magic? And all the kids are going, yay, and clapping and everything. And then he would say, now remember, kids, if your parents don't give me any money, it's not because I'm not a great magician. It's because your parents don't love you. Oh my God, it got a huge laugh. And then people would just throw money at him. And I thought, my God, is that bold? But it is brilliant. And that guy made thousands of dollars in a week just standing there doing magic tricks with a hat. You got to respect the guy that could do that, right? So this is the new digital form of busking, and there's how you can help us. Now, I am going to go on over to YouTube. We're going to go to the super chats. By the way, we read every single one of them. And now remember, friends, if you don't give me any money, it's not because I'm not a great show host. It's because you don't love me, right? It doesn't quite work the same way here. But I just remembered that guy, and boy, what a great guy that guy was. All right, so here is the super chats. We read and recognize every single one of them. We have welcome to the show with a kind and generous 99 Great Britain pence, I guess, with a unicorn super sticker. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. Lord Ludicrous with a kind and generous $1.99 says great show. And what a great supporter Lord Ludicrous is. Always throwing a couple of bucks in our hat. He loves us. Sweet Caroline with a kind and generous $4.99. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. And Caroline says facts. And Sweet Caroline always makes me think of the Neil Diamond song Sweet Caroline. By the way, I listened to that once, Sweet Caroline. I listened to that song, Sweet Caroline, and I couldn't get out of my head all day. And it's your fault. It's all your fault. Lord Ludicrous with another kind and generous $2.99 super sticker. What is that? It looks like an angel, maybe? Sorry, visually impaired. Brianna Matz it's Brianna. It's the Crystal Hippie bitch gave me $5. The Crystal Hippie bitch gave us $5. Thank you, Crystal Hippie bitch, Brianna. By the way, Spooky, who you may know does graphics here, has her own show and it's called That One Time I Was Abducted by Aliens. And so we want to be sure that we support Spooky's efforts in being a show host, and the link to their YouTube channel is in the description of this video. And I'm a big supporter of all those guys, Brianna and Spooky, and I like Crystal Hippie bitches. I always have. They're always interesting. Crystal Hippie bitches are fun, okay? But they always smell like patchouli, and some of them have bad hygiene. Not those girls, though. They take showers, but they're still Crystal Hippie bitches. So, we want to thank all of our kind and generous supporters for their kindness, their generosity, and their support of the show. I'm going to check in. There's also... we read every single PayPal pledge that people send us. And the way to do that, in the description, it's in the description of the video. If you're feeling generous, you can also do that. I am going to go to PayPal and check in and see if we have any PayPal messages from pledges to read. We read every super chat, and we read every PayPal every single show. And in fact, I am somewhat horrified by shows that I see where they do not, oh, it's HT. Jeez, 1 second. I'm horrified when I see shows. My best example is David Wilcock. David Wilcock gets thousands of dollars in super chats during some of his 4-hour stupid broadcasts. And up until his last broadcast for decades now, years, he has not said anything. He has not said thank you. He has not read a single super chat, and he's getting thousands of dollars in super chats. I think that's despicable, and people should be thanked and recognized for their support of your show. Some people are rich guys, and they don't care. They just think they deserve the money, and why should they thank you peasants, right? I'm a peasant myself, so I will thank everybody. Carolyn Barnett gives us a kind and generous $8 PayPal pledge. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support, and says, always enjoy your perspective, Stephen. We'll always cheer you on. And this is Sweet Caroline. So sorry. Sweet Caroline is also a member. That's something else you should be aware of. You can join and become a member. I'm terrible at this. money pitch stuff. So here goes. Besides super chats, the other way you could support us is to become a Patreon member for as little as $1 a month. You get a bunch of extra content. And the other way is to become a YouTube channel member. Click that join button. Patreon's $1 a month. You get a bunch of extra content, and we do a monthly show journal, and we give early access before I upload the production videos. They're on Patreon for a little while. And also, you can become a YouTube channel member for $5 a month. And for the channel members, you get all the Patreon benefits and a bunch of YouTube benefits, member badge, and a bunch of goodies. So, and thanks to all of our channel members, and also thanks to, oh yeah, here, I do see some of the super chats here in the chat. So we will share those that I can find. Unfortunately, many of them are gone. The chat only lets me go so far back, so I apologize. I know Brianna and a few other people, but all I can do is thank you and let you know how much we appreciate your help and support. And by the way, I tweeted it, I think yesterday, right? Those Crystal Hippie bitches are doing another Golden Probe Awards. And they're going to be giving out awards and things to people in the UFO community. So I support that. Here's UFO John Doe. Oh, this made my night. UFO John Doe is here and says, Stephen, I think someone has it hard for you. I think he's a little shy. So on his behalf, here you go. From Pixie. From Pix. Yeah, I think he's still bitching on Twitter right now, right? Brianna, absolutely. Yes, I will give Spooky my address. But don't give it out to anybody. I'm getting doxxed enough. Crystal Hippie bitches. Yes. And yeah. Do I accept kittens as payment? No. My wife said nothing that poops is allowed in our house. Nothing else. For those that don't know, from my days of doing magic shows, I still have a bunch of doves, white love doves. And we have a dog, and my wife doesn't want any other pets. Nothing that shits, because she has to deal with it. And so we cannot accept kittens as payment. I apologize. And thank you, UFO John Doe, for your kindness, generosity, and support. That really did make my day. For those unaware, there was a guy, Pixley, William Pix, and he's bitching at me. He's one of those, people that thinks because somebody said Lou told the truth once that I was wrong about everything, and he went nuts. He just bitched at me for 2 hours straight in the live chat last night, and it was kind of comical. And he's been bitching at me all day on Twitter. Sorry, can't see. I blocked you because you're a toxic prick, but it should be Prixley, not Pixley, right? All right, so we'll take some time for questions and comments. So if you have any questions for me, Brianna, I'm not going to say it out loud, but I agree with you, right? I agree with you. I'm a big fan of that. My wife is, not a big fan of lots of access, though. I have to beg, Brianna. That's what I have to do. I have to beg and plead. And I have to be, on her good side. So there's a lot of requirements before access is granted, Brianna. But this is too much information, right? Visitor, what evidence or videos that you've seen do you think are 100% real, if any? Well, I'm a big fan of the Cash Landrum case. I really, really like the Roswell case, because Roswell, there is just so much data, so many interviews, so much to read, so much to digest. Roswell's probably my favorite case. And I don't know, Cash Landrum. I do like the Ariel School incident, but I haven't seen that new documentary lately. I still believe they definitely saw something that was possibly out of this world. I'm a big fan of Ed Fouché, or I was a big fan of Edgar Fouché. God rest his soul, he has passed on. And I believe that the TR-3B is a real thing. And he talked about it, and he verifiably worked at Area 51. He wasn't like a Bob Lazar that just pretended to work at Area 51. You can verify that Edgar Fouché really did work at Area 51 and had top secret clearance and all of that stuff. Pragmagic, you prick. Now I'm pissed off. Pragmagic is a longtime friend of mine and supporter of the show. And he's telling Walter Bosley, I'm friends with comedian Tim Dillon, and he reads sometimes. I'll set you up. Pragmagic, why don't you set me up with an interview? He likes conspiracies. He loves conspiracies and stuff about aliens. And I would, could use a guest like that. Why don't you help me out instead of forget about Walter Bosley and his books. Nobody wants to, I don't want to say nobody. People don't read books anymore. I'm trying to read more. But come on, Pragmagic. Message him. Get him to come on as a guest spot. I hope that answers your question, visitor. I would encourage you to see our Roswell Revisited series. Just go to our channel and go and click that magnifying glass search tool and put in Roswell. You will see I have interviewed all the world's leading experts on Roswell. Now, I know for some people it's like, oh, Roswell again, but there's a lot of new information that I pulled out of these people I was interviewing that people haven't heard before. I think some important information. And by the way, Walter Bosley was one of those guys that we interviewed for the Roswell Revisited series 75th anniversary. And we've also got alien scientists and Don Schmidt and Tom Carey, and we have a very skeptical view from Cal Korff. I think it's a great series. Oh, and that is another thing that I forgot about. Some business for the show that I should mention. Let me see if I can find it. So later tonight, friends, at midnight, we're working hard here today. I have been editing all day. And I got to tell you, I really enjoyed today. I want to spend more time editing and making production videos because I am reminded by today's project. Today I decided, okay, I have this project for this short story, and we're doing a new series. We're going to call it Strange Stories. And it's going to be strange stories from all around the world that hopefully are humorous. I wanted a laugh. People need a laugh today. And you guys know that I have a sense of humor and I like to make people laugh. So we're doing this new series, and it's called Strange Stories, and it's really meant to be comical and funny. And what we did is we were scouring the internet for weird stories that we can put a funny, tilt on. And so the first one that we have debuts, the first story, I edited the whole thing today. I was proud of myself. Normally I would give up and cry spooky, but I didn't today. I said, I'm going to do this. And by the way, Spooky and I are talking. Spooky will be editing some of them. So the first one, oh, geez, this is something. This is breaking. Spooky, please do me a favor and send me if you're listening, send me the, oh, look at this. This is funny. And by the way, we're gonna talk about this because this guy, listen, this is great. Todd McMurtry, who is Kyle Rittenhouse's lawyer and is also Lou Elizondo's lawyer, replied, here is me tweeting that show earlier, and I'll name him, but please don't go give him any clicks or views because he doesn't deserve them. He is a despicable slime ball, in my opinion. Here's what I tweeted. Earlier tonight, Thomas Fessler, superpowered alien abduction guy, and by the way, I should explain that. Thomas Fessler claims he was abducted by aliens, and he also claims he has superpowers. He's a remote viewer. That means he believes he has superpowers. So that's what I mean when I say superpowered alien abduction guy. Made false claims with zero evidence about me again. I have no criminal record. Calling me a felon on a public live stream is pure defamation. He has no facts, no evidence. Desperate, shows malice. So Lou Elizondo's lawyer, he replied to the thread stating that someone is a criminal or liar without support is defamatory. Note, I am not making any accusations. This is just a legal principle. That's pretty funny. That is funny. And I should put on the record, we're going to put it on the record here. I'm going to contact Todd McMurtry. I'm going to call him tomorrow because besides telling everybody that I'm a criminal and a felon, this idiot Fessler is also telling people that Todd McMurtry is coming after me. I suppose for what I've said about Lou Elizondo, I don't know what he's saying, but he's telling his audience and everyone on planet Earth through the internets that Todd McMurtry is coming after me. I don't think that is true, because when I called Todd McMurtry for comment on the story of him representing Lou Elizondo, he didn't know who I was. He didn't know what my show was or what my show was about. If he was planning to sue me or go after me on behalf of Lou Elizondo and I called him, normally an attorney would say, I can't talk to you because I may be filing legal action against you or something. No, he said, who are you? What's your show? Where is your show? What's your show about? You know, he had no idea who I was. So I have a high degree of certainty that Todd McMurtry is not going after me, as this idiot Fessler is telling people. And here he is sort of defending me when I'm posting a clip of Fessler slandering me or defaming me, whatever, and telling people I'm a criminal with no actual evidence. By the way, I'm not a criminal. I'm just going to say that again. I'm not a felon. We went over this many times. So not only is this idiot Fessler telling people that I'm a convicted felon and a criminal, he's telling people that Lou Elizondo's attorney is going after me. And here is Lou Elizondo's attorney apparently defending me and saying that that's defamation, what he did. Awesome. Awesome. That made my day. And so what I'm going to do is call Todd McMurtry. And first I'm going to ask him for the benefit. I really am going to. I'm telling you. I'm going to ask him how much it would cost me to have him represent me to go after. Maybe I should do that, right? Maybe I should do that. I just want to know what it would cost, though. I'm not making any plans. And then ask him if he's planning on suing me for Lou Elizondo. Or did that guy present false information twice to try to discredit me, to try to turn people against me, to try to damage my reputation? He's telling people that Todd McMurtry's going after me, implying that Todd McMurtry's going to sue me for Lou Elizondo. Again, that's 2 attempts now to damage my reputation, to turn people against me, to make me the bad guy here. And I think it's hysterical that Todd McMurtry is chimed in on that Twitter thread, letting him know that what he did is definitely defamation. Nice. Sometimes, yeah, it's amazing, friends. Amazing. You know, and you know what gets me is, like, if you have to lie to your audience to make people not like me, that says a lot more about you than it says about me. What did I do? I'm not a criminal. You're telling people I'm a criminal. It's amazing, friends. This whole situation, it amazes me. It boggles the mind. So, but back to tonight, midnight tonight, we are doing a premiere of our new series, Strange Stories. And in that series, we are 1 second. Oh, this is funny. Yeah, I guess Lou from UCR has updated his thumbnail and put his thing back up. But I'm trying to tell Spooky to send me the slide one, and Spooky will know what I mean. I can't scroll back enough to get it. And I don't have it on this computer, Spooky, because I do my editing on a different computer. But I'm trying to scroll back so that I can share with the audience the thumbnail for tonight's premiere. And again, it's called, we have this new series, and it is called Strange Stories. And tonight we are debuting a really funny piece on the slide from hell. And it's funny, friends. Essentially what happened is there's this slide, and it's in Detroit, Michigan, at a place called Belle Isle. And the slide has been closed for years, and people were sad about that because people grew up riding this huge giant slide, and they really liked, riding the slide, and it's been closed for years. So they refurbished the slide, but when they did, they put way too much wax on a giant slide. Now, as you can well imagine, way too much wax and I found it. Finally found it. Jeez. They put way too much wax on this slide, a giant slide. And as you can well imagine, if you mix a giant slide and too much wax, things don't go well. So tonight at midnight, friends, it's only a short clip. I think it's 7 minutes long or 8 minutes long. And this is the format for our new series, Strange Stories. So tonight at midnight, Strange Stories, the giant slide from hell. Please do come back if you can and support our new series. We're going to be doing a bunch of strange stories, hopefully funny strange stories that are humorous and strange, which I think that covers things I love. I love strange things and I love funny things. And I do have to tell you that I was cracking up so much while I was editing this, like uncontrollably, because wait till you see it. It is just, again, I don't want to give too much away. All I'm going to say is a giant slide that's 2 stories tall and too much wax. What do you think happened, friends? It is hysterical. I can't wait for you to see it tonight. Again, the debut of our new series, Strange Stories, Giant Slide from Hell. I'd appreciate your attendance. I will be in it. It won't be live, obviously. It's a produced video, and but I will be in the live chat to answer any questions and to laugh along with you. I decided that people need more laughter in their lives, including me. I had a great time putting this together. Thanks for Spooky for the amazing artwork and the support. Spooky will be jumping in and editing some of the future episodes because we would like to put out a few of those a week. 1 second. Let me just make sure I'm not missing something. Oh, yeah, I am missing something. And we want to welcome also shout out to the Walter Bosley channel. Go subscribe to him. We'd like to have you back as a guest, Mr. Bosley. I always feel like I'm talking to the guy from Happy Days when I say Mr. Bosley. You know, Tom, I think his name was Tom Bosley, the guy who played the dad on Happy Days. Aging myself. Al Warrior with a kind, generous $5. Longtime show supporter. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your constant support. Always very generous, throwing a couple of bucks in our hat to help us continue the journey. Uncle Fessler needs to focus on gaming and other hobbies and not ufology. Well, he's a failed game developer. I know that much about him. But thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. It is much, much appreciated, Al Warrior. Yeah, so we'll take a few more comments and questions from the live chat. That's really all I got for you, though. Oh, Sweet Caroline. Oh, yeah, by the way, there's a member benefit. The new series, Strange Stories, debuts tonight. But earlier today, I posted it on Patreon early, and I posted it to the members. So if you're a member, you can watch it whenever you want. And Sweet Caroline, channel member, has already seen it and said it's good. Yeah, I hope that you got a good laugh, right? Mystery Eon is here and says that slide looks like a cheese grater waiting to happen. Yeah, all I can tell you, Mystery Eon, is that they refurbished the slide, they fixed it all, and then somebody put way too much wax on this slide. And hilarity ensues. And what happened is people have been posting videos of people going down this slide on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter and YouTube. And I just collected it up because sometimes the universe, Mystery Eon, I don't know if you believe this, but I do. Sometimes the universe sends you something, that you're meant to do something with. And I don't know why, but these videos of people going down this slide kept coming across my internet. Everywhere I went on the internet, I go to, TikTok, and videos of people going down this slide were shown to me. I go to Instagram, same thing. I go to Facebook, same thing. I go to YouTube, same thing. And I took that as a sign from the universe that I was supposed to do something with all those videos, and we sure did. And I think it's great work. I'm very proud of it. And yeah, so tonight, new series. Thank you, Mystery Eon. Yeah. Any more comments or questions? Visitor says, have you seen the documentary film, The Phenomenon? If so, what are your thoughts? I thought it was well produced and well done, but a little light on, I'm a data guy. I really like data, And so for me, I'm looking forward to. I'm really looking more forward to the Ariel School one, because to me this, the phenomenon film was largely like, I don't know, it was information I already knew. Maybe that's part of the problem. Not that it wasn't good. It was just, it's kind of like, well, I've heard this before. I've heard this before. But that's most documentaries once you've been in the rabbit hole as long as I have. I'm a supporter of James Fox, and I wish him well. But I think lately he's jumped the shark too, because now he's promising he has video and film of the Virginia aliens, maybe. Yeah. And I think that's one of those overpromise and underdeliver. Is he really going to show us film of an alien? I'm not sure, but oh yeah. Here's some other thing that I should talk to you. Listen, there's one other thing that I will share. I currently have a big feud going on with Stephen Greenstreet. That's right, from the basement office. And here's why. I don't think it's fair, okay? I don't think it's fair. I'm supposed to compete with this guy, Stephen Greenstreet. He works for the New York Post, and he has a budget. And that budget, apparently, that Stephen Greenstreet is in charge of for the basement office includes money for Dino Beaver animations. I don't have money to get a Dino Beaver animation. How am I supposed to compete with that? It's not fair. So I'm looking for somebody who will sponsor us so that we could get somebody to be a Dino Beaver animator. And I think we may have found a good candidate here. This, my friends, is our Dino Beavers. I think our Dino Beavers are better, at least in still form. These are better than Stephen Greenstreet's Dino Beaver animation. Look at it. Oh, that's better. Much better. Got some dancing girls in there. But we need this in animation form so that we can compete on equal grounds with Stephen Greenstreet. Because I call bullshit. How am I supposed to compete with a guy who's got Dino Beaver animations? It's not fair. And I want to level the playing field. And I know you want to help me, friends. So get those pledges in, those super chats in, and we're going to hire, if we have to, a Dino Beaver animator. All right? And actually, I did send a message to Stephen Greenstreet, and I said two things. One, I would have loved to have been in the meeting where Stephen Greenstreet had to explain to his bosses that he needed funding to get an animation made of a Dino Beaver for his docuseries. And two, if I have to, I'm going to try Fiverr. But the problem with Fiverr is all the animators on Fiverr are from India or China. And how the hell am I supposed to explain a Dino Beaver to a guy from India or China that barely or doesn't speak English? This is going to be a problem. But boy, I sure like this Dino Beaver. That's a Dino Beaver, Stephen Greenstreet. We're coming for you, bro. You're not going to be the only one with Dino Beavers anymore. It's not fair. We all deserve Dino Beavers on our show. So we're going to do something about that. It's the Dino Beaver Challenge, right? Oh, Pix, what are you crying about now? What are you crying about now? Pix is back. He bitched at me for 2 hours. Now he's going to bitch at me about releases. What are you, the copyright police? You have no business here, Pix. Go somewhere else and cry. I just about had it. I've had it with this guy. Yeah. All right, we'll take a few more comments and questions before we get out of here. That one time but is it Jamie or Brianna or Spooky who did that picture? I don't know, because it just says the one time I was abducted by aliens, and there's 3 of you that were abducted by aliens that one time. So I don't know who actually did that. Meme Master. I'm confused. I'm not sure which one of them did the actual graphics, but somebody will tell me. Yeah. the dream hold you in that field, fueled by soul. Yeah, and I guess I should don't try to start any trouble, because I have a real media company and I know how things are done, and we're all on the up and up here. So don't try to start any trouble or bullshit. Five of us? How is there five of you? There's three of you. Oh, Bobby, four. Who's the other one? I'm confused. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I haven't been keeping up enough. Mark D. Truthseeker says, it's easy. I've done tons of business with China for product design, but there are more reasons not to use China and India. Yeah, I prefer to hire somebody American, or at least somebody that speaks English. For a time, I did have somebody working for me that was in India. He lived in India. He was Indian, a very nice guy, very, very talented. But the language barrier was killing me. And this was in a technical situation having to do with microcontrollers and certain chipsets and boards, and he was doing board design for me, PBC board design based on my designs, and most of the stuff that I worked on with him worked out, and for sure I could see why people do it, because he was half the price of an American. But there was problems with his work, and he was kind of slow. Oh, fifth is bottled water. Yeah. Okay. Well, now I'm. Can I please get a mod to drop a link to Pix's channel in chat so I could fix the weird block YouTube has on me seeing him? Yeah. Go ahead, B Baker. You should be able, or somebody else should be able to do that. I don't know, but I do know how to mute him from the whole channel. If he keeps on making unfounded accusations, or crying for 2 hours of life. Look, I don't care if you want to come here and disagree with me, but if you're just going to hurl insults at me for 2 hours, go somewhere else, bro. Go do something else, really. But, yesterday we did talk about we don't have an echo chamber here, and people are free to disagree with me. So, it is what it is. Okay, so we're over the 2 hour mark, friends. We're going to bounce on out of here. So this is all we've got for you tonight. I'm not sure about tomorrow night, but what I will say is that soon I will be releasing an actual show schedule. Probably over the weekend, I will be releasing a schedule for the shows every week going forward. And now that my children are getting back to school, and I should have a great deal more time. So I've said this before, we've discussed this, but I'm going to mention it again. I don't want to do more shows than this channel will support. And while I appreciate many of you that want me to do shows every day, and I know many of you would show up, but when we tried to do 5 or 6 days a week before, it just seemed like we were just splitting the weekly views between more shows, and the views went down. In other words, instead of doing 3 shows and getting 2,000 views, we would do 6 shows and still get 2,000 views across 6 videos instead of 3, which doesn't really make sense. And, I just kind of felt like there wasn't a demand there. But I feel like putting my foot on the gas, as I was telling Spooky. I'm going to put my foot on the gas for the next couple of weeks, whether the demand is there or not. And then after a few weeks of putting my foot on the gas and producing a lot more content than we ever have here before, I will decide whether we go back to, 3 shows a week, or we stay at 5 or 6. And we will also be doing more production videos. I'm going to put Spooky to work. Spooky likes to make me work, so now I'm going to make Spooky work. See how that works? Spooky is always pushing me to do work, more shows. But, God bless Spooky. Sometimes I need somebody to kick me and say, get some work done. At least you'll accomplish that today, But anyway, I'm going to release a schedule. I'm not sure about a show tomorrow. It's been a very long week. This is the last day of my children's, on a personal note, this is the last day of my children's summer vacation. They start school tomorrow. I know that's stupid. Before Labor Day, they got to go Thursday and Friday. Then we get Labor Day and they go back Tuesday. Doesn't make any sense, but it is what it is. I'm happy they're going back. As much as I love my children, I've been a snack bitch for months. And I felt like I've been on house arrest because those unaware, one of my children is autistic, and it takes quite a long time to. It's just not. It's not easy to take an autistic child somewhere. You need a lot more stuff with you, and it's always a nightmare when I try to take these two kids somewhere. So I just kind of hung around the house and felt like I was on house arrest for months. And I get off tomorrow. They're in school for most of the day, so I can run errands, I can go places, I can do things, and I will have a great deal more time for editing videos, working on the show, doing research, booking guests. By the way, someone did mention that we haven't had a guest in a while. I have some guests in queue. Next week we will have some guests, and we're working on more. If you have ideas for guests or someone that would make a good guest, send them to me at truthseekershow@gmail.com. We welcome everyone here, skeptics, believers, experiencers, anybody that has some interesting things to share. So that's all I got for you, friends. We'll check in with the live chat one more time. Oh, Al Warrior says, I'm here even though I'm not logged on all the time, bro. Well, thank you for kindness, generosity, and support. Another $5 super chat. Thank you for kindness, generosity, and support. All of you. Much, much appreciated. I'm going to bounce on out of here. Come back in 45 minutes, and we'll have the debut of our new series, Strange Stories. I got to tell you, I'm so proud of this one. Sometimes the universe just sends you the proper tools and their time and the passion and the idea. Whatever happened, I'm amazed at how quickly tonight's premiere came together. I thought it was going to take a couple of days to do it, but I got it done in a couple of hours today. Luckily, my children slept in today, which gave me a little bit of quiet time to do some editing. So tune in tonight, midnight Eastern Standard Time. Let me know what you think of the new series, Strange Stories. And if you have a strange story that you think might make good material for our new series, again, email me some links or whatever you have about a strange story you found, hopefully a humorous strange story. We want to keep it humorous strange stories. So email me at truthseekershow@gmail.com. Before I go, I want to remind all you people listening in audio podcast land that you're missing half the fun. We love and appreciate you listening in audio podcast land, but please do go on over to YouTube. Click that little magnifying glass search tool. Put in Truth Seekers, one word. You'll see me, Stephen Cambian, a strange guy with sunglasses, pop up. Go to that channel. Smash the subscribe button. Hit that notification bell, and you too can come here and be a part of our live chats. Live interactive chats. The interaction here is one of the greatest things. You get to ask questions, be a part of a conversation. Don't just listen to the show or watch the show. Come on over here to YouTube, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll know when we're doing a live taping, and you too can come here and be a part of the show. You are most welcome here. So that's all I got for you, friends. Until next time, my name is Stephen Cambian. Good night, and God bless all of you, especially you. Especially you. Especially you. Yes, you. Good night, friends.
Square. Square. Okay. Represent the circle, which is called the brain. Called the brain. Called the brain. Triangle. 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 Okay. Represent all the brain. Triangle. Brain. Triangle. Brain. Brain. Okay. Represent all the brain. Triangle. Brain. Triangle. Okay. Represent all the brain. Triangle. Brain. Okay. Represent all the brain. Triangle. Brain. Consciousness. 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 Consciousness.
Consciousness is part of that process, that
spirit, that thing that is all encompassing of what a human being really is, the essence of your truth.